Here on Z93, today's best hits. It is Thursday night. Andrea is a little out of the weather.
A little under and out of.
I'm a little out of touch, and Andrea's
a little under and out of the weather.
Aww,
yeah.
I can see it in your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for being here tonight.
I would not miss it. You'd have to make me miss it.
Oh my Lord!
You know what
the deal is? I actually believe you.
It's true.
Because I wouldn't be missing it either. It would take a lot.
Yeah.
So welcome to our 58th broadcast of Lifelines here on Z93, today's best hits, and we are live atop Radio Center in downtown Traverse City, and it's a beautiful night. And I hope you all had an okay day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Andrea has been working her tail off because why?
Well, because I'm editing a book.
She's editing a book.
Yes, I'm editing your book.
I know.
And it's really, really good stuff.
That is weird.
Why is it weird?
It just feels weird. It's awesome.
It is awesome.
It's awesome.
It's so cool.
So yes, I got to move my mic. Sorry, Ron. You're supposed to set it and forget it. We're not supposed to touch the mics. I just
and
broke
we
the
forgot
rule.
to set it.
And I'll bet Ron can hear it. Maybe he's listening, maybe he's not. Yes, we are going to be at the Park Place Hotel on September 21st and 22nd for the Light Consciousness event. And it is hosted by a international channel and keynote speaker named Sherry Lord. And it will be a 2-day event at the Park Place, and you can go to sherrylord.com, sherrylord.com. You can call Higher Self or Evolve Books in Glen Arbor or Way to Wellness in Midland Bookstore, and you can get more information. But again, you can go to sherrylord.com, and I am the honorary guest speaker, or no, I am the keynote speaker for this 2-day event. So I'll be speaking both days. I will be releasing my first ever book that was a lot of labor of love, and I'll be doing a book signing, and then Andrea and I will be doing a workshop at the end of the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Sunday evening.
So there are going to be, oh, Ron, I got to move my microphone again. Okay, all right, it's okay. The event, there will be psychic mediums, there will be forecast for the...
Yes, astrology forecast for 2020, as well as for each astrological sign.
Yes. There's going to be Jeff and Joe, the owners of Higher Self. They're going to be doing a meditation, and they're going to be talking about living in the now.
Yes.
There are top psychic mediums. There's going to be, in Michigan, there's going to be a hypnosis.
Mm.
And... gosh, the Sacred Sound concert.
Right. So there's Sacred Sound,
mm-hmm.
as well as the light show. So that should be really...
It's a healing.
Interesting, yeah.
Yes.
It's a very immersive healing experience.
Yes. He travels all around the world, and right now I knew his name yesterday, and it's escaping me right this minute. You can look it up. So anyways, yes, and here's the crazy part. So this is all the metaphysical, and I am the... physical piece, John Steinbauer. Again, you can go to sherrylord.com, and you can get all the information about tickets and speakers and whatnot on the website sherrylord.com. So yes, I'm the keynote speaker, and I'll be releasing my first book, and I bring the physical to the metaphysical.
Yes.
Right?
That'd be really cool.
Right.
Right, because one of the things that we often don't talk about in the spiritual piece is how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And how to take some of those things that we're learning and actually make them work for us in this here and now.
Right.
And in our interactions with others, and in when we go to work, and when we get a late payment on something, when we do, when things
right.
come up of our regular everyday life, it's a good way to know how to incorporate and handle all
right.
of that.
Well, and when we talk about being mindful, conscious, self-aware, and connection, and whether you're trying to, all those things require, as a physical human being, having access to your conscious brain.
Right.
When, if you know anything about me, I am the neurological brain geek. But there's some truth. Everything in this world is not about grit and determination and willpower. And when you learn a little bit more about how the brain operates, you hopefully learn not to take yourself so seriously. So we may be trying to receive love from God, from the universe, from our partner in life. But if you can't even receive a compliment, and you minimize yourself, and you don't have gratitude for yourself, and deep down inside you know you're deserving, but you can't act on that, it's very challenging to receive from any other source, right?
Right.
We know this to be true. So me being the keynote speaker for a metaphysical event, actually, at first, when Sherry asked me to be the speaker, I was like, wait, I'm like the human, the physical, the brain, the this, the that. And she's like, I know. And she was onto something. I didn't see it as much at first.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one thing that we teach is, if you can't receive a compliment, you can't receive the abundance of God's love or Buddha's love or your partner's love or your kids' love or even come close to feeling the gratitude and love for life.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all about your programming, and we've all talked about when you go to counseling, tell me about your childhood. What they're really saying from my perspective is, tell me about your programming. What irrational beliefs did you store? And your brain doesn't know how old you are, and you're still living the same program 50 years later.
Right.
And
right, you're still reacting in the same way 50 years later. Your family dynamics are the same 50 years later. Yes, I can absolutely see that.
Well, and I always say, the brain doesn't know how old you are, and if you think it does, or that wisdom just comes with age, many of us are still driving to Ohio for Christmas when we don't want to, but our mom will get upset and we don't want our sister to this and that, and it's those same dynamics that when we were kids.
Right.
And we have these same irrational fears, and if you were first when you were a kid, or you were put last, or whatever these things are, they carry with you. And so now when we're trying to receive things in our lives, which is one of our workshops is Free Your Mind and Your Life Will Follow. Mm-hmm. And the other one is How Dare You? The Art of Asking and Receiving Deliberately. Mm-hmm. And so this is something that Andrea and I coach on the side. If anyone's interested in the coaching that we do, actually Life Strategy.
Yes.
Bravura Life Strategist. You can email us right now at thepractice.lifelines@gmail.com, thepractice.lifelines@gmail.com. We have an 8-hour training session on our method, and if you go to Annie Clark Facebook page, you can see, I think we have a lot of testimonials up there and whatnot, and a little bit more about our program, or you can email us. So back to that. Yes, it's going to be cool. And my nephew and 2 nieces contributed to the book, amongst other people, but one wrote my story beautifully.
Yes,
and
incredibly beautifully.
And my other niece did the cover. Mm-hmm. And the back cover, and my other niece wrote a poem for the book, and
used her photography.
And used her photography as well. So it's pretty cool. So September 21st and 22nd, if you're interested in checking out our event, it is on sherrylord.com. You can go to sherrylord.com, and you can go to Annie Clark professional page, and it's pinned up at the top, and you can get into more information then. So we hope to see you there.
Yeah.
And where did this all start? Oh, because you've been busy editing the book.
Yes, I've been busy editing, but
she's brilliant.
Well, I appreciate that. But when you edit, you need to go over it and over it and over and over, because your eye, because of that brain, how that brain works. it likes to skip over words because it thinks it knows what's coming.
Right.
So it makes the editing process rather tedious and repetitive. And then, of course, that repetition works
Right.
against you as well.
Well,
But the one thing I will say is that every time I've gone over the book, I've been blown away at just how good it is, how much symbolism there is, how much truth there is, how much just beautiful storytelling there is.
yeah. Well, and can I tell you what I've learned, and this is so pertaining to our show,
Yeah.
because at some point, it's like the more you and I are forced to build this newer, more improved, incorporating our desires and our passions and our dreams, this identity, the more we have to share. And so one thing that I shared, a lot of my programming was you only get one shot at it. It has to be perfect, whether it's what I say. When Andrea and I started the practice and started training groups, and she was doing the PowerPoint, it felt life-threatening to me, because do-overs and editing, which is so much of a creative process, was not an option for me.
Right.
And so when we were going through the practice, developing the practice, the one thing that I said is, I am not quitting. I posted on Facebook and I said, here I am, vulnerable, raw. The only place in my life where I am struggling is that I'm not sharing and I'm holding myself back. So come heck, come high water, on September 17th, I am, September 17th.
Yeah.
This was last year. I am going to be at Echo Event Space. I didn't know it at the time. But
Right.
at any rate, the point is that because I refuse to quit, I am forced to grow. I am forced to face fears. I am forced to let go of old parts of me that are telling me things that aren't true. I am forced to stop making deals with myself that as soon as this, then that, or as soon as this, then that. It's like this growth is being forced. And if I can put one thing out there, when you refuse to quit no matter what, and I mean refuse to quit. I don't just mean, and refusing to quit is a whole nother growth, because you have to start over all the time.
Right.
And I have been in tears and traumatized by doing things that tell me that the sky's going to fall. And in writing this book, for the first time in my life, I finished something and had this creative process where my only attachment to writing this book was to just put it out there. And that's it. It's not to be a New York Times bestseller. It's not, I hope 1 million people read it. It was just literally, I know I'm moving the microphone. It was just literally to finish the book. And so I started out with this story. And then my nephew came in and he started writing it. And my niece came in and she started designing the cover and the characters and what they look like and this and that. And all of a sudden I'd be writing, and then just like an artist, you imagine this picture, and then all of a sudden you're like, I think I'm going to grab a little orange, and you throw it on the palette, and you're like, oh my gosh. And so through this process of using my conscious brain, where creativity lives and free will, and in the absence of, you're not going to have time to do this, you have to reach out for help, what if Andrea doesn't finish editing it, all that stuff that gets in your way, I was able to just be free. And I've practiced a lot, and we can teach you how to do that, to stay in my conscious mind. But what would happen is all of a sudden I'd call Andrea, I'm like, oh my God, guess what? Remember this? Well, that's not the beginning, it's the end. And then in the middle, and she'd be like, oh my God. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even see that coming. How many times have I said I didn't see that coming?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And so this has launched me to produce my 9 years of documenting. I've been documenting on an iPhone for 9 years. The whole story. Mm-hmm. And before I released it, or even made it or put it together or had help putting it together, I had to learn to trust the process. I had to learn to trust that other people had to do what I didn't have the skills to do. I had to learn to be okay doing something over 50 times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this has been insane. So now I'm like, with the documentary, I can't wait, because guess what? It's going to turn into something that I didn't know, that I had no idea. Like this book.
Right.
It was just this awesome little story. And now it's like, it's crazy. So the creative process, people, oh my gosh.
Yes, but you just have to get out of your own way.
Well, we all know what we have to do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you just got to do this. You just got to let it go. You just can't care what people think. Yes, well, welcome to the brain going, because this is the way we do things. And I'm going to rationalize it and just say it's your metabolism. And I'm going to rationalize it and say this year's not a good year. And all the lies that we tell ourselves, not on purpose, but all the lies that we tell ourselves that hold us back.
Right.
Mine was, as soon as I lose weight.
Yeah. Right.
And guess what I started saying to myself last year? You know what? Getting up on stage in front of people has nothing to do with what I look like or what I weigh. And then all of a sudden, the weight was lifted.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, I've been telling myself for years, everything has to do with my weight. That alone holds you back.
Oh yeah.
From
That
going
holds
to
you back from everything.
going to a class reunion, from going to the beach and enjoying yourself, to being present when you're somewhere. Oh yeah. And so I just got all excited. But I'm going to tell you what, this creative process, I am just so excited about what Andrea and I do and what we're continuing to do, because if other people get to feel what I'm feeling, and other people do, we've trained probably 50 people now.
Mm-hmm.
And well,
we had one just
Last
recently,
night?
yeah, that said,
not last night, like a week ago.
that said, just how amazing it is that even after 2 weeks, right? So that's completing 4 of the 8 hours. That it's been life changing, and something that that is going to be have a huge impact.
Right.
And have a ripple effect and ripple effect and ripple effect, and people are going to want to certify to train, and then certified trainers and train others, and it's just going to be really beautiful.
And this person said they want to train some people, but yeah, this whole process has just been so incredible. And every time, again, I started with all of this is I refuse to quit.
Yes.
Period. And I don't care what people think. I don't care what well, wait a minute. It's never about not caring what people think, but many times what we think people are thinking is not what they're thinking at all.
Right.
But my point was that, remember I said to you, Andrea, I don't care if I gain 20 pounds, and I did. I ate candy through every ounce of developing the training program, because I was so traumatized with do-overs and editing and revising, and that's not the name of my game, right?
Right.
And so if people can feel, we already are helping people help themselves, but this whole creative process with this book was something that I never saw coming. The ability to start with something and have no attachments to what the outcome is going to be. And I mean that. That's not just a quote. And I'm not just saying it. To have access to my conscious brain and to be able to remove all the what ifs and you don't have time and what if it doesn't get this and blah, blah, blah. And this small story has turned into just this amazing thing. And we can help people with that.
For sure.
In the future. So anyways, we promised we were going to talk about gratitude tonight, and I believe that we have to take a show Andrea's face. John wants to see her face.
Not tonight, honey.
Not tonight, honey. We promised that we were going to talk about gratitude.
Yeah.
And how do I have 2 seconds to lead into it before the break?
Sure.
Are you lying?
Yeah.
You are.
No, of course.
We have
it's your show, Annie.
Yeah, right. It's our show. Thank you. We're talking about gratitude, but actually feeling gratitude. and a little bit more about it. So we're going to talk about that after the break, and that's it. We'll be back with Lifelines in just a moment. I have Facebook going.
What?
I have Facebook going.
Oh, do you?
So, hi.
Let me turn this down.
Hi, anyone and everyone that's watching. Hi, Taylor. We are streaming live tonight just because I felt like it. So if we have a caller tonight, you will not be able to hear it because the devices aren't set up to stream phone calls. So that's that. So we're on a break right now. We're on a commercial break. And we're going to talk about gratitude in a minute. So I'm going to step away for a second and pick my nose, and I'll be right back. And hopefully you stay tuned and maybe even call in tonight, because we can talk about anything you want. So how long do we have? You guys are behind the scenes. Hi, John Bramer.
We've got 2 minutes.
Okay,
And
so
we
yes.
a text saying, what's a lifeline?
He wants a lifeline? What's a lifeline? So you guys are behind the scenes right now. We're on a commercial break, and I just felt like streaming live tonight, and we're going to talk about, well, we're talking about a lot of things, but we're going to talk about gratitude and some perspective that you may have not ever heard or considered about gratitude, and acknowledging yourself, even gratitude for yourself and what that does for your life and the life of others. So if we get a phone call tonight, you will not be able to hear it on Facebook because we do not have the technology set up at this point to do so. And so that is a bummer. But hi, Jen. I decided to stream live tonight. So we have about 1 more minute for the commercial break. And again, you won't be able to hear the callers tonight, but I wanted to stream live. So we're talking about gratitude and some perspective that you may have not heard before, right, Jen? And something to think about, and the importance, hi Taylor, and the importance of acknowledging yourself and what that does and how your brain likes to eat it up, and how you and the world around you can benefit more when you can feel more gratitude and actually also feel for yourself. So you bet. So I'll be right back. I'm going to get into my purse and get some goodies, and we're going live again. Hi, Sherry Lord. And again, everyone, you won't be able to hear if anyone calls in because I stream live tonight and we don't have the technology. But we're almost there, so you're a little bit like behind the scenes, and I've got my Santa cup tonight. And Sherry, we just talked about the event, and we're all excited. I'll be right back. Andrea, John wants to see your face.
It's not happening tonight. I'm setting my boundaries.
Andrea's not showing her face tonight. She's setting her boundaries because that poor thing has been editing the book, and can I say my book?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
And she has been sick. Hi, Becky. And she has been sick and editing for 3 days, and we are sending my first book to Kindle tomorrow.
Ready?
Yes, I'm ready. So we're going to start the show, and we're going to talk about gratitude. And I just got warm. That's weird. I'm never warm. I'm always cold. Kenny Olson. Kenny Olson, I have your t-shirt on. Hey everyone, welcome back to Lifelines here on Z93, today's best hits. I am in the studio at Radio Center with Andrea, my amazing partner in crime, who is under the weather.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
But
I was wondering if they thought you'd have a guest today with this voice.
It's pretty sexy. I must say. So we talked about our event, and we'll talk about it again. But again, Sherry Lord is the host and an international speaker and channel and keynote speaker. And she has asked me to be the keynote speaker for the Light Consciousness event on September 21st and 22nd at the Park Place Hotel in downtown Traverse City. And you can go to sherrylord.com, and check it out. And when I post this, when I finish this post, it'll be on my page too. And we talked a lot about it in the beginning. I'll also be releasing my first book, and there's going to be psychic mediums and channelers and hypnosis and astrological forecasts for the energies of 2020, and for your personal astrological sign. And John Steinbauer is doing the sacred sound concert. He travels all over the world and creates healing music, and a light show, which is insane. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah. And I'll be speaking both days. I'll also be releasing my first book that Andrea's editing right now. And we're also doing an amazing workshop at the end of the weekend. So you can go to sherrylord.com, or you can go to Annie Clark professional page, and that will link you in as well. So we promised we were going to talk about gratitude.
Yeah, we did. But we did also just get a quick text, and I wanted to share that with you.
Okay.
And the message was, what's a lifeline? So we didn't share that this day. We just kind of went right into it. So
yes.
Yeah.
Lifelines is a show about getting things off your chest and calling in and getting maybe a different perspective, or someone to actually hear what you have to say. And it can be about anything. There's no problem or question or challenge too big or small. And we get everything from, how am I going to say no without feeling this way? We have goals we're trying to hit. We have careers we're worried about, better relationships that we want. And so there's no question or problem that's too big or small to call. And so part of it is, one reason that we started this show was when I went through a horrific life crash, 5 years of PTSD, panic attacks, very isolated. That's where our coaching came from. Mm-hmm. However, I knew when I started talking about my story, when people would say, oh my gosh, I do that too, and I feel that way too, and I can relate to that. And I started saying, I know I'm not the only one. Thanks, Holly. And the more I started talking about it, it was like the Me Too. Well, not like the Me Too, but, and so I knew when someone could listen empathetically without telling me that I needed to move on, or that he was a jerk anyway, or that to look how much better I am now, or, you got to let that go and all that stuff. It was like, I didn't feel like anybody got it or anybody understood. And so this show is for people to call in, because the first thing is getting things out of your mouth. Right. Getting them out of your mouth and out of your head, because when it is in your head, there is a whole bunch of nothing going on but repetitive thoughts, and when you share it out of your mouth, it does become more real. Mm-hmm. And
sometimes you hear yourself for the first time.
Right. And you in your head are saying a whole lot of repetitive things that aren't always true. I call it the alone zone. And so we all have stuff, no matter what we drive, no matter how much money we have, no matter big or small. And when we feel like other people can relate to where we're at, that makes a huge difference in this world.
It absolutely does.
And go ahead.
And then we had another text, a follow-up text that says, when will the book be available to the public?
The book will be, it's called She Grabbed Her White Jacket, and it will be available, we're not going to read, it'll be available September 21st. You'll be able to get it at the Park Place. If you join us at the Light Consciousness event, I'll be doing a book signing both Saturday and Sunday. And then it will also be on Amazon. Yeah. And it'll be September 21st. So So yeah, and on that note, we haven't gotten to gratitude yet.
I know.
And we're going to get there.
I know.
Right?
We need to make sure that we get there.
We will get there.
Absolutely.
So yes, so Lifelines is about that. And I've spoken with Andrea, like the example is, you see your aerobics, that's how old I am. You have your spinning instructor, and she's got the great music, and she's got the Lululemon outfit on, and blah, 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 blah. And she may inspire you, but you don't think she can relate to you, right? Because you don't know her story, right? And why don't you know her story?
Yeah. We make assumptions about people.
We make assumptions, but the one thing is when we hold things in and we don't share, we definitely feel alone.
Yeah.
And when things come out of your mouth again, it's more real, and you can't always do anything about it at that time. So it's like, great, now I'm spitting out that my marriage is a disaster, but now what am I supposed to do? So the brain likes to protect you and keep things hidden on the inside, but when they're hidden on the inside, you'll struggle forever. And so
right, and keep repeating the same patterns because that's
right.
what you know, because that's how you're programmed.
Right.
And you may not even be aware of it.
Right. And we were just talking tonight when I had PTSD so bad, and it made the world uncomfortable around me. It made my family uncomfortable around me. It made my friends uncomfortable, acquaintances uncomfortable. And just like a funeral, I use that as an example, when people are uncomfortable, they just want to feel better. And they want you to feel better, but part of the reason they want you to feel better is because they're uncomfortable. And so people don't know how to react, and they don't know how to respond, and they just want to give you the positive side. And Andrea and I were just talking tonight, part of releasing this book, and then I'm going to be releasing my documentary. And my documentary is grueling. And this is the girl that everybody thought was fine. Mm-hmm. This is the kid that everybody thought was fine. This is the wife that everybody thought was fine. This was the hairstylist that everybody thought was fine. Just like when we lose people to suicide, by suicide, right? We all thought they were fine, right?
Right.
Well, when my life crashed, I was isolated for almost 5 years, except for work and a little bit of family, and the way my method was developed was because I had to become the one that had to face me and the lack of worth that I had that got me into the situation in the first place. But I trained my mother to be an empathetic listener, because you can't be at a therapist's office every day. I trained myself to be an empathetic listener, and Andrea and I were just talking tonight. Part of me releasing my documentary is you get to see what might be inside of you, what might be inside of your kid when everybody's fine. And if the whole world could learn to sit in people's pain and help them move through it and heal from it, as opposed to just trying to make it go away. And I don't mean that in a rude way at all, but we may have half the suicides, half the people on medication, just by somebody saying, hey, that sucks. Instead of saying, well, you just got to do this, and you're a really strong person, and you've got so much going for you, and then somebody just feels disconnected, like nobody gets it, and they stay inside. So
well, and it's interesting too, especially with our topic being gratitude tonight, that sometimes in those situations you also get, oh, you've got so much to be thankful for. Just think about this. Think about the people that are so much worse than you are.
Right.
And all of these things. So gratitude has its place for sure.
Yes.
But that can, when people throw that at you, it can be dismissive and diminishing, and make you just hold back up in a corner.
Right. Part of healing and moving through things and letting them go is letting it out.
Yes.
And again, we can't be in a therapist's office every day, and I couldn't be in a therapist's office every day. And And you're right. I remember a family member saying to me once, I don't understand. You have a great job. You make great money. You drive a nice car. You have an amazing husband. I don't understand why you're not happy. And when you're not happy on the inside with yourself, it doesn't matter what you have. And I was living proof of that. It didn't matter because of where I was at on the inside. And so gratitude, we promised we'd get to our subject because we try to do this show organically, and when we do our live post, we do pick a subject, and oftentimes we don't get to it. And so I need you to stop coughing, please. It's really interrupting the flow in the room.
I'm sure it is, but don't make me laugh, please.
So, gratitude.
You may be talking by yourself.
Wait. Did you bring a cough? I have a cough drop.
I got one right here.
All right.
But I think I do need.
Do you want some water?
I got some of that.
Okay. You do. You are good. Don't walk by the, you know what? Uh-oh. There she is. Here she comes. So I am really talking by myself. Andrea had to leave the room. She is not feeling very well. So gratitude. So we talk about gratitude and being grateful, but my question to everyone is, how often do you really feel it? Feeling something and saying something are totally two different experiences. One, not really being much of an experience at all. And so when it comes to gratitude, like I think of if you're a mother and you peek in and your child's sleeping, and you feel that feeling, or maybe a sunset and you just sit there and take it in for a moment, or the other is you almost rear end somebody and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, thank God, oh my God, thank God, oh thank you, and you feel that gratitude that you just didn't get in a car accident. But typically they're short-lived. And so when it comes to gratitude,
Okay.
no.
Well,
When it comes to gratitude, feeling it, because when you feel it, the subconscious brain likes to attach to what feels good and likes to move away from what feels bad. And so that's a whole nother story. And if you want to call about our training, because I could tangent on about that one, you can email us at thepractice.lifelines@gmail.com. So, or go to Annie Clark page. So the brain likes to attach to what feels good at the subconscious brain. And so gratitude, just like when someone says something's wrong, if you dig a little deeper and you dig a little deeper and you dig a little deeper, you get down to the root of what's actually wrong. So when one of my clients will come in and their hair is awesome and they're talking about their hair and the problem with their hair, I will say, okay, what's really wrong? What's below that? And then sometimes what's below that? Because until you can get to the truth of what's wrong, you can't do anything about it, right? And so it's the same thing with gratitude. So gratitude and feeling gratitude, if you start with your kid or your job or your mother or breathing or whatever it is. So when I started my gratitude journal, I'd be like, I'm so grateful for my mom because of this and because of that and because of this and because of that. And what I committed to when I started it was, I'm going to write 2 pages on each person or subject or thing that I'm grateful for. And all of a sudden it started to get deeper, and I was like, oh my gosh, when we were kids, she used to fluff our stuff in the dryer, and she'd make it when we were sick. When we come home from school, she'd put everything in the dryer, and then she'd cover us up with the blanket in our warm pajamas. And at Christmas, you know, she had all our presents lined up, and she was trying to make it so equal and blah, 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 blah. And then she would make this bread that always, oh my gosh, my mom's chicken and dumplings, right? And all of a sudden I started feeling the gratitude. And the brain has to get practiced at it, right? And so I was like, wow. Now, if I would have just stayed up at the top, I wouldn't have felt the gratitude for my mother. And so I had to keep going. And because I committed to writing 3 pages, I started to feel it. And the brain liked that. and it made me feel differently, not differently about my mother, but it made me have more gratitude naturally. And so that is one art of practicing gratitude, is to take the subject or the person and to set the timer for 3 minutes. Out loud is even better than writing it down. Out loud is even better, and all of a sudden you will start feeling gratitude. And the more you practice that, and everything takes practice, the more you practice that, the more you will just think of your mother, and that feeling will naturally come. That is the art of repetitive behavior. And so then it'll just come more naturally. And then the art of feeling gratitude will just come more naturally. But it does not come just because you heard me say it. I'm going to tell you that right now. Any more than reading the book about the diet makes you lose weight.
Right.
And so we talked about, when we were talking about gratitude, then we moved on to why it's so important to acknowledge our own achievements. Mm-hmm. So how many of you have had a compliment on a job well done? How many of you have had a compliment on your hair? How many of you have had a compliment on how great you've parented your kids? How many of you have had a compliment on the great game you played? And how many of you have actually said thank you?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Instead of, because we're really taught that we don't want to be boastful. We don't want to be conceited. We don't want people to think we're right. And that's so ingrained in our psyche for the most part too, that the first thing most people want to do is to diminish themselves. Oh no, well, you love this sweater. Well, I've had it forever. It's so old. It's so gross.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you look like you've lost weight. Oh yeah, but I've got 20 more to go, and blah blah blah. So the gratitude piece is one, but acknowledging your own achievements, and part of it, acknowledging anything good about you. And I'm gonna sidebar, because sometimes we, and I used to be famous for this, take too far of a leap with people. Right. Oh my gosh, this dinner is amazing. And maybe it was, and maybe it wasn't, but a lot of times we're and we teach that in our coaching, is a lot of times it'll be too far for somebody to hang on to. So if I try to tell myself I look unbelievable in this bathing suit, my brain's I'm training my brain in the opposite direction, because it'll push it aside. But if I say, hey, I don't look too bad, right? Mm-hmm. My brain, I'll be like, okay, I can take that. I can receive that. And so again, if you can't receive a compliment from someone or a congratulations and just say thank you, that means your relationship with yourself is a reflection of that. Because if you can't acknowledge things about yourself, you can't receive actually some of the compliments that we actually do crave from others, because we are human, right?
Right.
So the brain, again, likes to repeat what feels good and move away from what doesn't feel good. And that's why when they talk about running away from ourselves, our self-talk people are 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, 95% of them repetitive, are not pretty, and they do not make us feel good. And they're so normalized, you don't realize your relationship. If you're not living the dream, it's because your relationship with yourself is not what you'd like to believe it is, right? And more of your value is sought outside of yourself than from yourself. You're trying to fill that void, but then no matter what kind of attention that we get, we can't receive it anyway. So it's just a conundrum, right?
Yes, it keeps us stuck.
Mm-hmm. And so acknowledging a job well done with yourself, practicing on that. If I can't receive a compliment from myself, I cannot receive it sincerely from anyone. Not my husband, not my friends, not my boss. And then we're sad because nobody appreciates us. And if you're sad because nobody appreciates you, I'm going to tell you right now, it's because you don't have enough appreciation for yourself, period. And so when you acknowledge, when I look in the mirror and I start out easy, hey, you're not so bad, Annie. And then I smile at myself, and these are things we coach on. And then I repeat that, and I repeat that. Pretty soon when someone says, you look great today, I'm like, thank you. And the cool thing is the more you acknowledge yourself with yourself, the less you need it from anyone else anyways. And so it's like you finally can receive things, but it's nice, but you don't need them. You're not dependent on them. And the more you put into yourself and you build your relationship with yourself, the more present you are for other people. And you're not a nuisance because people are always worried about that you're upset or that you're going to be this or so it's actually that self-full thing, being selfish, how selfish of me to take time for myself. You're fine, little cougher. Will you make sure when you open that you close it quickly?
Yes.
She's doing it, people. She's still running the boards. Hopefully nothing goes wrong because the boards are just sitting there right now. So at any rate, back to acknowledging your own achievements. When you learn, and we can teach you, you can email us again at thepractice.lifelines@gmail.com, or you can go to Annie Clark page, my professional page, send me a message, or my personal page. But it's easier said than done if you don't have a method or something to follow. But when you start acknowledging yourself, little baby steps, because your brain will not take too much change at once, and it will not accept overpraise from where you think you are. So if someone says you look great today and you find yourself again saying, yeah, but you that means your relationship with yourself, you can only receive to the degree that you feel things about yourself. So my husband can tell me I'm beautiful all day long, but I can only receive it to the degree that I feel it for myself. So acknowledging your achievements, you start to create more gratitude for yourself and more appreciation for yourself. And when you do that, your world and your life around you changes, absolutely, positively. So minimizing our achievements, if I encourage one thing to practice, and I mean just practice, not starting tomorrow every time somebody says that I did a nice job or that I look nice today, I'm going to say thank you, because the brain is hardwired. If you haven't been doing it, it's going to take practice. But to receive a compliment, when somebody says, can I help you with those groceries, say yes, thank you, because you're telling yourself, most importantly, that you have value. And if you don't have value, you're never going to have the marriage of your dreams, the job of your dreams, the life of your dreams. The life of your dreams, would that be right? The life of your dreams?
Absolutely right.
All right.
True.
Will you talk for a minute, please?
I'm going to try.
Go for it, girl.
Let's see how it works. But it's absolutely true, everything that you're saying about that. I used to have a very, very difficult time accepting that the praise that I craved.
Right.
And the thing is, my self-worth was not in a place where I could accept anything that was said to me.
Right.
Because I just didn't believe it. I didn't trust it.
Right.
So it is, from this side of it now, it's so amazing to be free of that, to be liberated from needing any type of validation from anyone else.
If we need it, we ask for it, right?
Right. Because it's amazing. It's amazing to feel comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
And it takes work, but as you said, it's baby steps, it's little things, and accepting compliments is a good start, and believing that, hey, maybe, just maybe, it's true.
Well, and until you practice just receiving it, it is. And baby steps is about transitioning irrational beliefs, about transitioning habitual patterns of thought, of action. And so the whole baby step, hi Ron. So the whole baby step thing, it's deeper than just baby step. The brain will not make change overnight. And if it does, if you can force yourself to do something cold turkey, you can force yourself to do something, but you can't sustain it. And so we have an exercise that we do in our training that's called, what did your brain just say? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was doing it with my friend at the beach, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Missy, you look amazing in that bathing suit. I'm like, what'd your brain just say? What'd your brain just say? And she's like, no, I don't, right? And then I'd say to her, you know what? You're not so bad in that suit. You actually look all right in your bathing suit. And I'm like, what'd your brain just say? What'd your brain just say? And she's like, I can buy it. I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or you say to somebody, you deserve a whole day off, right? And then it's, what'd your brain just say? And you got to catch it right there, because our thoughts, when we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, we're just catching the feeling. We're not actually catching what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I spent the last 9 years pulling dialogue out of feeling when I go to step on the scale, when I think about how much money we have in the bank. I call them fixed thoughts and variable thoughts. Your fixed thoughts are the things you've been habitually worrying about forever.
Right.
Right? And so when you're baby stepping, when you look in the mirror, I start with, you know what? You're not so bad. But if I try to be like, you're an amazing person, my brain's like, eh.
Mm-hmm.
And so that actually, when you overpraise or when you overshoot things with other people, it actually, the brain actually rejects it, and it actually trains the brain to, it's like opposite training. I am not that. I am not that. I am not that. And anything that gets repeated becomes an irrational belief.
Right.
And so if you get overpraised all the time, your brain's rejecting it, where we just like to stay in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So just saying thank you, practicing thank you if somebody gives you a compliment, and receiving it. Because again, if you can't receive a compliment and you always say, yeah, but, or your dinner was great. Yeah, but it was a little this, and gosh, you look nice today. What a great job you did, and whatever. Yeah, but it could have been this. It is a direct reflection of your relationship with yourself, and you can't receive anything from anyone if you can't receive it from yourself.
Mm. Beautifully said.
So, gratitude.
Yeah, I really love your exercise about making it a couple pages. It really does force you to dig deep.
Right.
And
right.
You're right. And one of the things we talk about in the training all the time is that if you're not feeling it, you're not healing it. You're not making change, because you're not getting down into really what's really important. So it makes a lot of sense.
Well, and even the gratitude for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you write 3 pages, if you try to be like, oh, I'm grateful for my this and I'm grateful for my that, it will always start on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So if you challenge yourself or commit to writing 3 pages of what you're grateful for about yourself, and it can be small. I'm grateful that I even tried.
Mm-hmm.
That's a step. Because again, we don't go from here to here, and our relationships with ourselves are definitely not as loving as we like to think they are, because if they were, our lives would be different. Our lives would be different. This I know for sure, and I'm not looking to prove it.
That's true.
Yes. So we actually got to one of our subjects tonight.
We did.
And
I'm pretty thankful.
Thankful
that you have such great, amazing information to say. Right?
Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's not.
I
that
just said
felt
thanks.
like nicely done.
Mm-hmm.
I know that would have felt like, if I had said that to you a year ago, even, that would have felt like something you couldn't take.
Mm-hmm.
But it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. A beautiful way of looking at things that allow others to open up and look.
Yeah.
Consider that possibility as well.
Yeah. There was a whole lot of, again, when I had PTSD and I was so isolated, and I didn't have suicidal thoughts, and I was either going to stay isolated for the rest of my life and have panic attacks, or I was going to find my way out. And that's when I started documenting. And that's when I started writing everything down, and that's when I got out my video camera. Well, it started with a video camera, and then my iPhone. It was before iPhones, believe it or not. And I started documenting, and I got a good dose of my relationship with myself and the lies that I would tell myself. And if I just lost weight, and if I just did this, and if I just did this, then this, and as soon as this, then that. And it was all, I was the one that betrayed me, and I was the one that belittled me, and I was the one that judged me. And it didn't matter how much other people told me I was great and deserving and a hard worker. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can only receive the way you feel about yourself, and you'll sabotage every good thing that comes your way one way or another. And then rationalize it, not even consciously, that it's because of this, or it's because of the weather, or it's because of my metabolism, or it's because of this, it's just this time of the year, or I just get the blues here, or it's my thyroid. And I'm not saying sometimes these things aren't true, but you're what you are able to receive. And you know how we talk about like respect. You'll hear someone say, well, I need to find a man that respects me. Okay, well, I have learned it's not about being respected, it's about having self-respect. And when you have self-respect, you don't get disrespected. And if you get disrespected, you move away from it. And I got to find somebody I can trust. Well, guess what? It's not about trusting. I don't have to trust you, Andrea. I have to trust that if something doesn't feel right, that I can move away from it. And I don't put so much energy into, we talked last week about, oh my God, I thought they were somebody other than they were, or that they're this greatest person. I don't have to, if I put you up on such a pedestal, anything you do wrong is going to be hurtful to me. Right? And so when you possess trust within yourself that you have choices, and you can say yes and you can say no, and that you are of value, and the whole communication, but I hate conflict. Conflict is because you don't want somebody to think something bad about you, or you can't control their reaction to your choice, and so you can't say anything, and then you're stuck again. But trusting yourself, it's not about trusting other people. I would love to put my energy into trying to find a trustworthy person. But tomorrow, Andrea could win the lottery, and we had a pact, and she could say, see you later. Does that make Andrea an awful person? Not necessarily. You could have a friend that all of a sudden gets in this, you're both single, and then she gets in this relationship, and she has this amazing man, and next thing you know, you're threatened by it, and next thing you know, she's not a good friend anymore, or you start treating her differently, so she breaks up with you as a friend. Things change. And someone loses weight, right? Someone loses weight, and all of a sudden their best friend didn't, and then all of a sudden you start feeling differently about that person, or that person starts feeling, and so the whole needing people to be trustworthy and needing people to be respectful, and of course we want that, but when you don't have respect, you will run into every disrespectful person in the world. As a matter of fact, you will train people to disrespect you, because you can't receive respect if you don't have it. Self-respect. And you will meet every untrustworthy person if you don't trust that you can move away from a situation that doesn't feel right. Right?
That's the truth.
I should know. I should know, because I've been there. And I'm not there anymore. So we are wrapping it up tonight here on Lifelines at Z93, today's best hits. Thank you for everyone who joined us tonight. And again, if you want more information on our training and our coaching, you can email thepractice.lifelines@gmail.com, or you can go to Annie Clark page, message me, and check out our event, sherrylord.com, that's coming up in September. And that is that. So we will be back next Thursday night from 7 to 8 p.m. And I hope you join us. Thank you. And again, this is Lifelines on Z93, today's best hits.